Hi there, welcome to this build blog of this lovely Avanti patterns plane. Now it's not a detailed build series, there is one of those in my playlist if you're interested to have a look at that, and there'll be a link in the description below this to that playlist. This is more of an update of this ongoing build where I'm replacing my original Avanti, which I gave to a really good friend, and I missed it so much I just had to build a new one. So anyway, you can see now that we're actually almost finished. In the last video I got the servos set up in the fuselage and then got the fuselage covered. Now in this video I need to be pulling all this together. I've still got the tail assembly to glue in, that's not secure, well not levelled up and glued. I've got all of the electronics to put in, the engine and everything, and I'm going to get it ready for the airfield. So first things first, I think I'm going to get that tail done. I've still got the hinges to do actually on the ailerons as well, but I'm going to get that tail glued in and then we can start to set the fuselage up. But we'll come back and have a look at progress. Well, this is probably the most nerve-wracking thing with the whole build, is getting this tail glued nice and square. And essentially it's got nothing to do with the fuselage now, it's just getting it parallel with those wings so that they're right in relation to each other irrespective of the fuselage, because the fuselage and the front wings, the main wings, now that's set and we just need to get this right. I've sat the tail down on epoxy. I've got a little bit of a carbon fibre spar as a locator, just a 2mm piece of carbon that comes up into the fin. I've got a clamp on the back here, just holding that square. This tip needed to just come down a little bit to get it right. And I've got a clamp here with some balsa protecting the fuselage, just bringing those sides in to pinch the front bit of this, oops, just knocked it, the front bit of this tail. And I've CA'd that because it's a nice tight fit, whereas with the tail plane sitting on the back of the fuselage, it's nice to have that epoxy in, because if there's a little bit of a gap, the epoxy will fill the gap, and just by levelling it up a little bit I may create a little bit of a gap under that side. But anyway, that's right now, so I'm going to just check this again. Now I just move that clamp a little bit and then we'll wait for it to cure, to go off, and then we can get the rudder on, because I haven't done that up till now because I just wanted to leave it till last really, rather than be in the way when I'm setting all this up. Well, still not complete, there's still stuff to do, but I'm getting there. I mean, that last clip that you just saw, I think that was recorded about 2 or more weeks ago. You know, sometimes life just gets in the way. But anyway, I've been getting the ailerons on over the last couple of days, and I've got those connected up to the servos, and essentially this is almost finished. I've got this to paint, the cockpit and the canopy to put on, but now I'm ready to balance this and to make the hatch on the underside. And you can see here, hopefully, I've got a battery that's just hanging on a bit of webbing here, and that more or less balances out pretty good. I'll go around the front of the bench in a minute and we'll have a look at that. But that's ideal because there's a former here inside the tail of the fuselage, and this section here is pretty clear. So I'm going to be putting a hatch just on the underside. You won't see it, it'll be really inconspicuous hopefully, and I can mount that battery up in there in a piece of foam. And what did I say, there's a former there, so essentially I can move that bit of foam anywhere from there down to there. So we're going to get this balance and we're not going to add any weight, and we will have room for adjustment. So if I just come around the front now and we'll have a look at how this balances with that piece of with the battery on that piece of webbing. So I will balance it more accurately once we've got the hatch done, but essentially we're pretty good there, we're almost there. Like I say, I want to balance it properly, but I'm going to get that hatch in now, and and then we'll come back and we'll have a look at what we've done, and it will probably be finished at that point. Right, well, I've now got the hatch built in the back of the fuselage, and we can see if we look in, there are 4 pieces of balsa cross pieces that I've put. You probably can't see all of those, but there's 4 pieces to support a piece of foam that I'm going to put in there. We've got a former here which will stop the foam from sliding that way, and I've just put in a little cross piece here to stop the foam sliding that way. Now, before we look at the foam, we've got the hatch. This is 1.5mm plywood, and this just slots in on these bearers here, and there's a little bit of a tongue, and it will just screw down. I've got a black dome head hex bolt here that I will use just to screw that in place. And when the foam's pushing up against that, I mean, it's a pretty tight fit anyway, but when the foam's pushing up against it, it'll be nice and secure. So I'm quite pleased with the way that's looking and the way that's done. What I do need to do is a little bit of covering around here, so I'll put on a narrow piece, fold that down and just take it into that so it's nicely sealed, and we'll get this covered as well. Now, looking at the foam, I've cut myself a tray of foam here. You can see what that's like, and the battery is just going to sit in that, and then we can slide it up and down the fuselage to get that CG spot on. If we want to adjust it in the future, take the hatch off, take a bit of foam out, and just slide this a little bit further forward or backwards. Now, once we've got that in the correct place, we've balanced it, we're happy that's in the right place, I'm going to cut a bit of the foam that I took out when I cut this slot, and I will just cut that across there, and this can't slide. So, and then there's a piece of foam that goes on the top, and that's just at the right level for the hatch to go on. So we can see that now. We'll just get this in quickly. I mean, it feels really neat, this, and I think it'll work really well. So we've got the foam in there, and it's up against the former, as I said, and the stop there. We can put the battery in, and just get the cable out of the way. There we go. We can put the battery in, make sure that's nice and in the right position for the CG. As I said, we'll then put the piece at top, bottom, stop it sliding, and then this piece of foam, which I'll probably cut again, and I'll probably slide a bit up the front and then a bit down the back. But anyway, you can see how that will work, and that battery will be really nice and secure in there. So I'm going to get this covered now, get the CG sorted out. And I should just say that once this is sealed in, screwed down, we're not going to want to keep getting access to it. The only reason we'll need access is if we want to check or change the battery, or we want to alter the CG just to fine tune it. The charging point for the battery will be from the switch itself, because there's an extra charging lead on the switch. So all we need to do is take the wings off, which we'll keep it stored with the wings off anyway when it's not at the airfield, so that will be an easy accessible point. Well, I am literally down to the very last job on this now, and I've just made a new canopy. I didn't like the one that I had before. It was a little bit scuffed, and it didn't come down low enough to my mind on the fuselage. So I've just made this one, again using an old pop bottle and my plug, balsa plug. And if you're interested in how I've done that, then have a look in the description below this video, and there'll be a link to a separate video just showing making the canopy. Not this one, the smaller one that I made earlier, but it's exactly the same process. So anyway, I've got that done, and as you can see, we now have a pilot and a little bit of colour in the cockpit. So I've done a little bit of black around the the front, and yeah, that's black on the back. I had to check then, I'd forgotten. And we've got this kind of dark tank grey, I think. It's all of these are acrylics. They're easy to put on, they're not fuel proof, but they're just going to be protected under the canopy. So all I'm going to do now is put a couple of screws either side to hold this canopy on. And it's just come to mind that I don't think I've actually shown you the finished hatch. So if I just get this, and we'll have a quick look at that. I say the hatch for the battery compartment, and that's all completed now. And we can see there, it's really nice and neat. We've just got that one domed head, hex head bolt there, holding that on. Come round a little bit further. I mean, it really is inconspicuous, and when we turn the fuselage over, you wouldn't even know it was there. And yes, and yet this balance is absolutely lovely, spot on. So I will get the canopy on, and then we'll have one final look with the wings on and the finished model. Well, here it is. It is finished. My lovely Avanti patterns plane is finally done. Now, this has been just under 2 years in the making, and as I'm sure you're aware from what I've said in the previous videos, I've been building this in between kind of other builds. I think I built 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 or 4 planes in that 2 years, probably 3 planes, as well as this one. So this actually is the 4th. And it is so good to get it finished, and it's literally totally finished now and ready to go to the airfield. I've got all of the throws done and everything set up now. It's just really is ready to go. Obviously I'm going to pick a really sweet day. The weather this year has been shocking, and we've still got strong winds and a lot of rain. So I'm going to wait for a really nice, calm day. And I haven't had this engine running for probably 3, 4 years. This is the engine that was in my original Avanti patterns plane that I gave to a really good friend of mine. And hence the whole point of rebuilding another one, because I missed it so much. But I need to take this to the airfield, get the engine running. I mean, it's been well looked after, well oiled, so it should be absolutely fine. But a bit of time taxiing it around and make sure it's right before we get off and do that maiden flight. And I can't wait to see this back in the air. And I hope you enjoyed seeing this sort of compressed build. So what is it? This is, I think, the 5th or the 6th video I've done of this 2-year build. And like I say, I hope you've enjoyed watching it, and I can't wait to show you the maiden flight. So thanks very much.